All right, so removing and installing the chaffer and sieve on the Lexion. We're going to assemble this now kind of backwards so you can see how easy it is. And so right now the deck is loose. I can pull that deck in and out if I wanted to. So at this point right now, I just pull that deck out. So we've basically just put the deck back in, and now let's start reassembling everything to go back together. All right, so little bolts and brackets are back in place. That holds that in there. That he ain't going nowhere. Now we'll get the rear adjuster mechanism on. That's pretty simple. 4 bolts and a couple Heim joints, and we're good to go. So that's the actuator motor. He's back in place. The wire's hooked up and guided out. There's a little guide underneath here that guides that wire out in place. Lever's hooked up. This side's tight. This side's tight. Everything's tight. I mean, you're only talking a 5-minute task here to put 4 bolts in and these 2 deflectors on, 2 Heim joints on, and a wire just screws in, threads in. Now we'll set the chaffer decks in, I believe. This is what I like about this combine is every combine, whether it's a brand new combine. I remember working at John Deere, sending out brand new 9600s and 9610s and having more problems. They weren't simple mechanical errors. They were, you know, for a couple years there, they had transmission noises and hydro noises. And every once in a while, you just get that one combine off the assembly line that apparently everybody's mad at. But, you know, here's the whole chaffer deck. And it's light and it's easy. I can just tip her down and scoop her up with one arm and carry it around to the other side and slide it in. It's pretty slick little setup. That was the whole point of this combine, is that no matter what you do, you're going to be rebuilding a combine at some point. They're just a high-wear machine. And I really liked how the Lexions had just tremendously heavy frames and heavy structure that they can be rebuildable. And so, yeah, well, let's get this guy in. That's enough talking. By yourself, it's a little monkeying around, but there's just a shelf right there that it sits on. Then it goes in that slot back there, and a channel on this side, and a shelf on this side. And fits in there pretty good. Ain't too bad. Couple minutes. I mean, it's literally, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes. I don't know, whatever. It's not bad. Let's just say that. Compared to my 8820, that you had that big heavy chaffer that was wider than this one. The 8820 was a wider body than this body. You pulled that old thing out. You had to take the chopper off. You needed 3 men and a boy. Well, it wasn't that bad. Just 2 guys to slide it out and then put it back in, 2 bolts. You know, it was pretty simple if you had 2 guys. Actuator system's held on by a bolt on the end, a bolt on the middle, and another bolt on the end, and then a bolt up on each side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 bolts, and he's back in place. So let me put them bolts in and tighten them up. The one thing you got to watch is there's a little dowel pin. Oh, there's 4 of them. And 2 on each section, and they'll go in and they keep the chaffer deck from bouncing around side to side. Just make sure everything's clean. Bolts in, holding the rear end on. Put the Heim joints in there. Got them nuts tight. Wire hooked up and routed up underneath. Now, up in the center, these just go right here, and it sits like that, and all it does is just kind of hold down to keep that center from bouncing. The rear end's locked in guides, this end's locked in guides. All it is just keep that center from potentially bouncing and moving. All right, them bolts are tight, and then there's 1 on each side underneath there, and then 3 bolts to hold these little fingers in, and what they do is just keep Mog from hitting the soundboard. The nice thing on this combine, the loss, is this whole tin across here. Unlike my Deere that just had it in the corners, The other thing I like is that the chaffer is adjustable, just like my John Deere. So this back third you can have open a little more aggressively. So the front end you can tighten down for cleaner grain, but if you're on hills or something, this is a 3D sieve, so it will start to shake side to side if you're on hills. But it will, so you can run your front a little cleaner and your back to make sure when you're climbing a steep hill that you're not letting corn dribble out the back. But once I get this sucker, give me a few more hours of learning on this thing, already corn out the back is kind of a non-issue. It's a pretty amazing machine. But, you know, I think we're at the point of, let's start it up. So that number 11 down there, that represents the top chaffer. And it opens. And it closes. Nice. Nice. There's our bottom. It's all the way closed. And it opens. Yeah, baby. Yeah. All right. Oh, I'm so happy. So happy. I still got to put that tailing speed on, but that can wait for a different day. Just a couple little miscellaneous things to put on, but like I said, they can wait for a different day. Right now, I'd like to get the grain cart full and wipe this little bit off. Wipe this off, get the grain cart and walk the combine and the grain cart up to the back 50, and let's get something done today and tomorrow. So, yeah. It's a lot better grain tank looking too. I suppose with that lower sieve, it'd come forward and it'd flop it closed, and when it go backwards, it'd lift it up and scoop in all the cob and debris sitting on it. And that's what I had when I did it to the 8820. And so, yeah, that's a lot better grain tank. I like that. We got a warm spell going on here, and so I'd like to get the wet bin emptied today, and so I'd like to spend this evening, get a couple rounds back into the wet bin, and then tomorrow top off the wet bin, top off the dry bin, and then wait for our January contracts, and then with that wet bin full, with a few warm days, you know, that wet bin, it could lose a point of moisture. With the forecast we got going on, if a guy left it on that fan, well, geez, even if it only lost a half a point, that's money. That's money. Back to our 5 miles an hour. Oh, feels good to be back and running. Feels good. Oh, I don't know what I got going on here for a mess when I planted. I think the other road, now it fills in just this little dog leg right down here. But yeah, I got some capacity back. Feels good. Feels nice to be back at 5, because that sitting at 2, watching your returns plug up was very counterproductive. I feel like the Blair Witch Project. Walking into, what was that? With all the eyes over there, it's pretty creepy. They keep moving with me. I'd try to run, but let's be honest, that's going to be a 10-yard dash. What was that? Never mind, nothing. It got another half mile left to the pickup. I got to try and be quiet. This far north in Minnesota, the wolves come out, and you know, it wasn't too many years ago, the Indians, you know, they'd scalp you, and it was dangerous territory, pretty harsh country. I think there's been a lot of Sasquatch sightings around, but come to think about it, I've never seen one, but all my neighbors have. That's a tall fat guy joke. But yeah, hey, the last 1,500 bushels were good, and everything looks like it's holding. I'll make sure all my nuts and bolts are tight in the morning. And look at all the corn on the ground. I wasn't paying attention when I filled up one wagon. Guys, what was that? Never mind. Just thought I heard something again. Thank you for watching and putting up with me. I appreciate it.